Welcome back. A new executive order on climate change risks includes action items for federal agencies. It spells out deadlines for those agencies, too. Terry Gerton's president and CEO of the National Academy of Public Administration. Terry, welcome. It's great to see you again. What's your takeaway from this executive order, both policy-wise, but more importantly, what agencies will have to do to comply with it?
Well, Francis, I think this is a really important EO, but initially it's about analysis and signaling. It creates some requirements for reports about 120 days out and 180 days out, where we're going to get a feel for how the federal government is going to approach these kinds of regulations and how it's going to value the risk, the financial risk of climate change. And that's going to affect all kinds of agencies, those who have federal loan programs, those who regulate the financial markets, those who look at commodities markets, all those kinds of things. So it basically says we've been undervaluing the potential risks that are posed by climate change. And so we've been undervaluing the rewards for investing in climate mitigation strategies. So it's going to try to nudge the market to make those kinds of investments more valuable and more enticing.
You used a couple of phrases there that I think are interesting, and one is that all kinds of federal agencies will be involved with this. That means, to me at least, my takeaway was there'll be a lot of agencies that haven't really thought about climate risks before that will have to start doing so and building the infrastructure or relying on the infrastructure of other agencies to get information. The other thing that jumped out at me, Terry, the way that you just described it, is this is a risk management question. This is a risk management challenge for agencies, isn't it?
That's absolutely right. I mean, if you look at the statistics about how much climate-related disasters have cost the federal government over the past few years, it's remarkable, billions and billions and billions of dollars. So every program that's exposed to this kind of climate risk is going to have to evaluate their programs and value that risk. The first thing that's got to happen before that, though, is that the regulatory agencies and OMB are going to have to figure out how actually to quantify that risk and price it. And so it could be everything, as I said, from home loans to supply chain risk in manufacturing to actual investment risk in pension plans. And a lot of agencies haven't thought about that at all.
When you use those terms, quantifying and pricing risk, I hear one word, and that's data. The data flow here from agency to agency is going to be critical, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and that's why Treasury and Secretary Yellen are really at the heart of this conversation, because they oversee all of the financial regulatory bodies that in the markets are used to doing this, but they're going to have to figure out, and I think that's why that first 120-day plan that the White House is going to pull together is going to be so important, because it's going to set the stage for agencies on how they're going to count, right, and value that risk. And then OMB is going to have to put that into the financial management regulations and accounting standards so that agencies are all playing by the same rules so that the market has a consistent set of data to look at.
I'm going to give you a big pay raise. I'm going to make you a big high-priced consultant, Terry. You're going to go in and sit with a leader at an agency who's going, what do we need to do next in order to manage this data flow, in order to build these organizations or improve organizations that we have to comply with this? What do you tell that person, what do you tell that team that's trying to move forward on this?
Well, I think the first place to start, the first question is, do you have a lending program or do you have a grant-making program that's been impacted by climate costs over the past several years? Start there, put your finger on the programs that you know are impacted. It could be FEMA and disaster relief. It could be the inventories around COVID response, right? The pandemic response. Where have you been impacted by climate change? And start there and ask those questions. How do I count it? What's the price of it? How do I value it? So that OMB and the White House can start to pull together the common set of questions. And then they will have to create the data that's shared collectively so that we've got a common picture across the government.
It strikes me.
Then, of course, I'm sorry.
No, I apologize, Terry, but it just strikes me as I'm listening to you lay those programs out, there are going to be implications, climate implications in programs that people never thought about before, I imagine. This is going to have to be such a comprehensive analysis, I would imagine, of programs all across agencies that I wonder if the 120, 180-day reporting periods are going to be doable, first of all, and if they're doable, then if they can be comprehensive in that period of time.
Well, I view the 120 and the 180-day reports as the beginning. It's the beginning of the beginning. It sets the stage. It signals that we're intentionally looking at this, and it begins to address common questions. Those are timed to come just before a major UN meeting on climate change. And so I think we'll see coming out of that meeting, do those reports do enough? Do they set enough of the stage? Do they provoke enough of the conversation that the follow-on work over the next year, when OMB will have to figure out how to reflect all of these in the next budget, if we've done enough to lay the stage for that? So these are just the beginning of the beginning. There's a lot more work to be done.
Terry Gerton, thanks very much for joining me. It's great to have you on the program.
Francis, thank you.